I have the high privilege of this virtual welcome of operatic royalty. She hails this artist from St. Louis, Missouri. She did her studies at Boston University's College of Fine Arts and Northwestern University, where she meets Wagnerian soprano Lotte Lehmann, who becomes her mentor. She is a joint winner of the Met's National Council auditions along with soprano Martina Arroyo, a name you've probably heard, and she goes on to make her debut in Paris as Amneris in Verdi's Aida. She is chosen by Wieland Wagner to be his Venus in Wagner's Tannhäuser at Bayreuth, the first time an African-American artist has been invited there. She goes on to make auditions, or not auditions, but performances and debuts at Covent Garden, La Scala, and then finally the Metropolitan Opera House in 1965 as Eberly, the greatest Eberly in my mind. We are thrilled she is here, Miss Grace Bumbry. Thank you so much for joining us from Vienna.
It's my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
So we're talking a bit today about Shirley Verett and also your duo concerts, which are legendary. And if anyone who is listening, especially you young singers out there, definitely go to YouTube and pull them up. They are simply fantastic. We just played, Miss Bumbry, right before you came on, your Mira o Norma with Shirley Verett. So any recollection about her and those duo concerts?
Well, for sure, I have recollections, but I'm not so sure I really want to divulge them. But
well, you were friends.
Sure. My next door neighbors, for sure. No, Shirley and I were wonderful colleagues. I really think so. I enjoyed working with her, and I enjoyed the competition, first of all. But I don't think that she saw it as in the same line that I did. And for me, competition is people on the same level, because you can't compete with somebody who's lesser person. But with Shirley, you could, and I'm sure she got the same impression from me. Between us, only between us. there was the Anna Bolena duet, which was done also in New York, but I threw in a few extra high C's. She threw in a few extra high C's, but mine came because she put them in first. And I decided, okay, if she's going to put those in there, I'm going to put a couple in too. And so it became really a shouting match. When I heard it afterwards, months afterwards, I thought, oh my God, where is the musicianship of these ladies? They're just screaming at each other. But and Anna Bolena and Jane, that's what they were. They were competitors.
I wanted to talk a bit about the Bumbry Way. There was a clip of you about 2 years ago, I would say, that really made the rounds and is still making the rounds on Facebook. Just talking about what it takes to be an artist, a successful artist. When we look at your debut in Bayreuth, I can't even imagine what the pressure must have been, the pressure that must have been on you at that time. How did you learn how to come through those amazing moments? I'd be too nervous to sing under those circumstances at Bayreuth. Tell us about what it takes to get on the stage and be successful.
Arthur, what happens is you are brought up in a family that is very religious, believes in God and the power of God, and that God is there to help you. And so I just always put him first. And so whenever I got into a situation, I would just pray on it. And I knew that he was there to help me, and which is what he did. But I think for those of the listening audience who are not quite as religious as I, you have to realize that there is a supreme being out there to assist us as we go along in this journey. My sense of discipline was built in. I knew what I had to do, and I couldn't disappoint anybody, whether it was for singing at Santa Barbara or singing in the Paris Opera or Bayreuth or wherever. Now, don't forget that we Black Americans, we have already, in having lived in America, we know what racism is. And so to have that happen to me in Bayreuth, was nothing new. So I knew how to deal with that. It means that you have to ignore it and go on. You ignore it and go on. You have your job to do, and that's what I did. And I was, of course, I came out the better for it. Yeah? I'm gonna say something. There is a writer who wrote an article about me in the Opera News, where he assumed that I had it in for Leontine Price in our Aidas of 1967, I think, and that was not the case at all. I sang my omneris and sing my omnerises. Sang. I'm no longer there in the game. I sang my omnerises always the same way with every Aida, no matter who she was. I followed what Verdi wrote. What Verdi wrote is what's important for me, not what who my partner is. The partners are interesting for sure because you hear those sounds. They come into your ear. You see a movement, and all of those things you have to register. But most of all, you register what the composer has written. If he's written in there a forte or a crescendo, you do it. If he says stringendo, you follow that stringendo because normally that stringendo is in there for your benefit because normally there's a high note coming after that stringendo. To aid that stringendo is there to aid you to sing that note well. And so those are things that I want to teach my singers, that they realize it's not all about that beautiful voice. The beautiful voice is certainly important. But if you don't have all of those other things that I'm talking about, then you're not going to go very far for very long.